Okay, folks, welcome back. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Now, we're going to have a few different guest speakers over the 2 days for some specific topics, other coaches from Internet Business School. And for the next session, I'm going to introduce you to Claire Perry-Louise, who is our coach who specialises in community building, and reviews and customer engagement is all part of that. So, Claire, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you well. We can see you as well. Cool, fantastic. So I'm going to hand over to you, and I'll catch you folks back shortly.
Thanks, Simon. Morning, everyone. I hope you are all well, enjoying what's been said so far. As Simon said, yes, I focus on community building and building relationships in your business. Bit of background, I was on Simon's course probably 8 years ago, maybe more. And I used to be a solicitor before that. So I went on the 3-day course and he transformed the direction of my life, and I'm still here now. So it's nice to be able to share with you the things that I've learned. And today we're focusing on reviews. So if you look at the statistics around reviews, it's actually really, really interesting. And this actually shows up in terms of your own personal behavior. So wherever you're doing something in your business, it's always interesting and a good place to start to see, how do you make purchasing decisions? So if we're looking at the statistics, then a word of mouth recommendation is the primary factor behind between 20% and 50% of all purchasing decisions. Personally, looking at my own purchasing decisions, I would say that I probably go slightly higher than that. And this is where it plays into it as well, having online reviews, because 72% of people see that's seeing an online review is the same as being recommended by a friend or family member. And I know that whenever I'm making any purchasing decisions, I always read the reviews. And even if I see a couple of negative reviews, it does put me off. And so this is why it's an important element that you need to start building in your business, and making sure that you're making the most of the assets that you can get from your clients or from previous sales, etc., etc. So this is where some of the difficulties come in, because whereas we're looking at 90% of people using online reviews to make a purchasing decision, there's only 6% of people who write reviews. So look at your past purchases, for example, over the last month. How many of those have you gone in and made a review afterwards? Because it does take time, and it takes you out of what you're doing. So you need to be making the process as easy as possible. And sometimes there's other ways you can do it to encourage people to leave reviews. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So like I was saying, reviews and recommendations are really important, because we need to keep innovating, being fresh, using the assets we can, so relationship building, etc., etc. Because if we don't move with the times, if we don't embrace the fact that people are looking at reviews, then you're going to end up like Blockbuster Video, and you will be no more. And interestingly, with them, Netflix came along and actually presented to Blockbuster Video, and they got kind of left out of the room. And now obviously Netflix is a thing and Blockbuster is no more. So 72% of people will take action after reading a positive review. And Amazon is a really, really good example of how they have, I would like to work the system. They've worked, how we do things. We want to do things quickly. We want to do them swiftly. We want encouragement from people we feel who are like us. So that's another thing, like when you're putting reviews out, you need to have different people giving those reviews, because if you have them all from females or all from males, or not different ethnicities, that type of thing, people might not connect if they're not the same as the person doing the review. So Amazon's a really good example. And they, for example, years ago created Amazon Prime. And it wasn't always about the £79 a month, a year membership. It was about the fact that they were creating an ongoing relationship. And when I started out after doing the course with Simon, I was basing myself and my interest around membership sites, because I saw that as a really great way to build relationships. And Amazon have done this in their business model. They've made it super easy to buy from them. And they've also built reviews into the whole buying experience. And the more reviews you see, the more you trust the product. And then that increases sales. So look at some of the people around you, the business models that are working, and see what bits you can take from them into your own business. So the reason it's so important, and this is something that you need to take away from today's session if you only take away one thing, and that is, it is the tipping point. So that can be the difference between a sale and no sale, which is obviously really quite major. And you, in the whole buying process, you'll have a trigger. And this is why it's important that, so in marketing, for example, so if you go on Instagram, so earlier on I was on Instagram and there was an advert about some earrings, and I clicked on that advert because I was thinking about my sister's Christmas present. And then I went down this whole rabbit warren, and I was looking at these earrings, and then I looked at that shop, and it took me to Etsy. And then there's reviews, and I'm looking at the reviews and seeing what people say. And then if I see quite a lot of reviews, then I'm more likely to go forward with that buying decision. However, then something happens, the postman comes, and then I go to the front door, and then I've forgotten what I'm doing, and then I go on to the next thing. So that's why it's really, really powerful to have lots of different ways to engage and keep your relationship being made with your potential customers and clients. So reviews can drive traffic to your website. So if you see a positive review, say on a Facebook page or in a Facebook post, you might want to click through and find out some more information about that product. They can improve your SEO rankings, so search engine optimization, the way that you get shown up in the search engines, and it can make up to 15% of the ranking factors. It's also a good way to incorporate long tail keyword research. So that is where, if I was searching for something, so I could search, where is the best inexpensive spa treatment in Exeter? And that's a long tail keyword. And so if I have written a review saying, the Hyatt is the best inexpensive spa treatment in Exeter, I really enjoy going there because of X, Y, and Z, you're actually adding to your search engine. The more likely you are to show up in a search engine, because somebody else might be searching for inexpensive spa treatments. So the other thing is Google is looking for different things to rank you, and they want current content. I mean, we're absolutely inundated with content, with people trying to get our attention, with advertising, with options. And so Google needs to work out different ways how they're going to rank you. And if they see user generated content, so if I am writing something about a shop that I've worked with or bought a purchase from, and I am saying, I just bought this last week and it's really awesome and blah, 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 they're more likely to start ranking that business because they can see that it's current and sales are going through and that kind of thing. So, and also if users are generating content for your about your business, you don't need to, which knocks one thing off the list of the things that you need to do. So people are more likely to click on reviews, so increases the click-through rate. And like I said earlier, I clicked through on that advert and I started looking at other products. And then it actually reminded me, and I went back to a product that I looked at the other day and ordered that. And the most important thing is, as I said, it's like these reviews will really build the trust and deepen relationships with people. And the thing about community building or building relationships in any part of your life, whether that's personal life or business life, is these things take time to develop. You don't have as much as a relationship with someone when you first meet them, but the more you get to know them, the more you get to trust them, and then that's where you invest more time in them and those kind of things. So they really are important. So on average, someone will have 7 touch points with your business before they purchase from you. So this could be an Instagram post. It could be someone seeing your website. It could be reading a review or being recommended or being part of your newsletter. So you need to incorporate all these ways into your business, and then you can start to connect over time, like I said, is really important. So remember that it's not like the first, you don't have that connection the first time. I mean, obviously sometimes you can get somebody, they just see what they want and they buy it, and it's like boom. But generally in life, things aren't just boom. So they're going to take a bit of time. And that's why Amazon, for example, is so successful, because people have got to know Amazon. They know how it works. They know they can get it delivered the next day. They know they can read reviews before they purchased, and all of those things add to the success. So here's a few ways that you can get reviews. So sometimes we forget this most simple way, and that is using the telephone. So the other day, actually I rang someone, and I rang somebody else by accident because they have the same name. And it's interesting because we're so not used to now ringing people up and asking or speaking. And actually we had a really nice conversation, and I was glad I rang her by accident. So do the same with your clients, like phone them up, say, how are you getting on? Or say, would you be interested in giving us a review, or those kind of things. And if you ask, people quite often are willing to do it, especially if they're really happy. So you can also automate it through email follow-up after purchase, and texting as well. That can get a really high open rate because you don't get as many texts. And so here's an example. I think this was Southwest Water. They sent me a text asking me whether I was satisfied with the service I had from them. And then they ask you a few questions, and then they add that to their database, and then they take action on it, I should think. So think about incorporating text into your follow-ups. And the other thing you can do is sign up to third-party review sites. And I'm going to talk about those in a moment. So like I said, you can do it manually or you can automate it. So for example, Shopify, you can get a plugin and that will automate the whole process to get a product review. Remember though that timing's key. So if you're asked something at the wrong time, it can mean that you don't want to respond at that time, or you've got buyer's remorse, for example. So when you first order something and you're super excited, and then it arrives and you're like, wow, this is great. And then maybe a week later, you're like, oh, I haven't worn those shoes as much, or oh, I'm not sure they're waterproof, or whatever it might be. Maybe it's not so good. So it's important that you do it timely and when people are in that frame of mind where they want to give you a review. So if you notice on your social media, someone's saying, oh, this was amazing and da, 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 maybe that's the best time to ask them and approach them. You need to reduce the friction, because if it's a hassle, people won't bother because they've got lots of other things to do. And if you say, for example, that text I showed you, it says, this will take you a couple of minutes. Have you got time to do it? And then you're like, okay, I've got a couple of minutes, I'll do it. And it's also about diversifying. So you can use Google reviews, you can leave reviews on Facebook, you can click through and have email follow-ups, like I was saying with Shopify. So create different spaces, because people, as long as they can click through, and normally from their mobile, because most people will be on their mobile phone, if you can click through, and if I get an email that's about, click these, how many stars are you going to give it? And I'll probably do it. And I noticed last week that Amazon Alexa is saying to me, you bought so-and-so last week, how many reviews would you give it? And so I said 4 or 3 or whatever it might be. And that's all I had to do. I just had to speak. And they didn't ask me to say anything else. And I just thought they can see how important reviews are, and they're trying to encourage their customers to give them, even if it's just a 4-star review. Now, you can offer incentives, but you need to offer incentives for honest reviews. You can't incentivize people and only pay up if they give a good review. So this might be a discount off your next product, which would be good, or it could be maybe a gift card. So I bought a milk frother to make lattes, and when it came, it said, if you give us a review on Amazon and send us a screenshot, we'll give you a £15 gift voucher. And so I gave my review and I got my gift voucher. So I did wonder how much the product was actually worth, because I got it on offer. So they almost paid me to buy it in the end, but equally it did make me do it. And I wouldn't have done it without getting the £15 gift voucher. So think about things like that. So FIFO is a way that you can automate the whole process. So then they deal with sending out the emails and asking people what they thought about your the products that they've purchased from you. So there's an example. I bought some bedding and FIFO sent out the email to me. But before that, actually, they'd sent out an email. I think it was mid between me receiving the bedding and me placing the order, showing me some other reviews about other people, like how it's the softest, smoothest sheets that they've ever had, and blah blah blah. So it's almost like it's embedding it in, like I have made the right decision. And sometimes when I'm making decisions about things, or I'll ring my sister up and she'll say, Claire, are you trying to convince me? You don't need to convince anybody that you needed that or you should do that. And that's the thing. It's like building that into the model. Like, if you make a purchase, and these this bed linen sheets were quite an investment, you kind of need that reassurance that you're doing the right thing, so you don't cancel the order. So it's things to think about. And obviously, if you can automate it, it's much better. So this is the process around automation on FIFO. So the customer makes a purchase from the website, FIFO sends the email, and then the customer leaves the feedback. And then this is shown on your website, and you can see that it's verified because it's come through FIFO. So you haven't just got all your friends on there giving you reviews. And the gold stars are added to Google AdWords. So ads, again, if people are searching for you. And then you can share it and go on social networks. So it can be automated in various ways. So the easiest way is through plugins, Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce. So there is a whole procedure around this, because otherwise you would be worn out trying to get all this done. And like there you can see in that advert there, that email that they sent to me, get started by rating your experience. So you click on how many stars, and then you can just stop there. And so it's easy just to click on the stars on the email, even if you haven't got time to write anything further. And for example, with this company, Air and Grace, what happens is they have a membership area where they give you extra points, which you can put towards future purchases. And they might give you 500 points if you leave a review. And that would mean you get some money off a further purchase. So there's lots of different ways to incorporate it. You're also on the FIFO website, so people can go on there and they can see how many reviews you've got and how many sales. And then again, that gives you some encouragement that this is an established brand and that people have had a good service from them and that kind of thing. So once you have these reviews, then you can put them on your own website. And like you can see down the side on that slide, it says FIFO verified, which means that it is a real review, and which obviously, again, builds trust. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build trust with consumers. We're trying to incorporate those statistics that we spoke about right at the beginning of the presentation and make sure that people are making buying decisions, that they go on that tipping point and they make the purchase because they've seen that somebody else similar to them has had a good experience by buying that product. You can set up an email sequence as well. So that can be showcasing. So like I showed you earlier, showcasing that the reviews of other people have bought, and then showcasing that we've had these reviews, and that can go out in an email. And again, this is an example of being incentivized. So, hi Claire, how are we getting on? If you click through here, we'll enter you into a monthly draw and you might win £50. So different ways which are automated in the business to, again, encourage people to leave reviews, because that is the hurdle that we need to come over. Because like I said, only 6% of people want to do reviews, or they don't get round to them. And we need to increase that number so we can increase sales and make more money in our businesses. So remember as well, when you're using reviews, that you need to ask permission to use them as well. So if someone said something to you privately, it's best to check, is it okay to showcase this in our business? Because you don't want people then feeling, and it also depends as well what you're selling, because if you were a coach and you were doing divorce coaching, for example, people who are divorced may feel sensitive about subject, or embarrassed, or experiencing shame, or that kind of thing. And so if you say, I gave Claire Perry Louise an amazing session on how to get through divorce, and she said it's transformed her life and she's now moved on, or whatever it might be, I might not want people to know that about me. And so I wouldn't want to be disclosed on a review on their website. So think about what you're doing and get permission. So how you can use the reviews. So you can use star reviews under your product, like I was showing you in previous slides. Showcase quotes on social media. So take snippets. You can use software like Canva, which is free, and you can create really nice looking posts to share on your social media channels. Don't put too much text in because people don't really read loads, but you can showcase quotes on there. An interesting way is to write blogs and include stories about your happy customers. So talking about how you've taken someone from being unhappy, or, I've got a product and it's called a Mud Daddy, and it's about this big, and you put water in it and you pump it, and then it's got a brush on it and you clean the dog down. And it's really good when you go on muddy fields and things, because you don't have to put the dog in the car really wet. And so the Mud Daddy could tell a story about how I used to go and the car used to get ruined and the dog was all muddy, and now she's been out with this and the car's much better, and blah blah blah, and it makes an interesting story. You could have some pictures of the walk and that kind of thing, and people buy from people, and they buy where they feel there is they feel connection and a story. Not saying buy this. People are bored of being told what to do, and people don't. If someone tells me to buy something, I don't want to do it. However, if I read the story and connect with it, oh, that happens to me every time I go out with my dog, she gets so muddy, that would be awesome. I'm bought into them already, and then I don't need much persuasion. A few reviews that are positive saying this is brilliant, and then I'm in. You can use video testimonials if you can get those from your clients. You can use written things. You can add them to printed materials. So if you've got business cards, leaflets, brochures, all of those things. Add it to your newsletter. So in a newsletter, share regularly where the successes have been in your business, or the products and what people have got from them. And you can also set up a dedicated reviews page on your website. And I think the more that I have looked into reviews, the more I realised just how important this is. And it literally does go down to recommendations. And there's very few times now that I ever purchase unless I read a review. And ask yourself, does this resonate with you? Because I think really this is something we need to be focusing on. So let's look at what makes a good review. So visual elements, a picture, like I was saying, me out with the dog, it's a visual, you can connect with it, you could have a video as well, make it human as well, so you can really feel what's going on, and the more, so I bought a hat a couple of weeks ago, and the reason I bought it is I saw it on Instagram, and it was a sponsored post, so it was paid for. But then the girl was just standing with her phone, just talking about why she created these hats and how she couldn't find a hat similar, and so she created her own brand. And I just felt, she looked similar to me, and I just felt connected to her, and I bought the hat off her just because I kind of bought into her story. I mean, there's lots of hats everywhere, but I kind of bought into her story. Structure it as a story. So the review, like the transformation, the mucky dog to the clean dog, and those kind of things, or demonstrations of cleaning the dog and that kind of thing. So and can you use numbers? So it might be that you're selling something around weight loss, and you could say, you've been having these smoothies and people have lost a stone in a fortnight, or whatever it is. Like, if you can add something, some numbers to it, so people can really see that it's a real thing, it's genuine, and again, it's around building trust. Don't do your own. So here's an example which was on the One Show a couple of weeks ago about the Shaw Academy, and they had obviously been busting the system by putting other people's reviews, or getting people, maybe outsourcing people just to give reviews that weren't truthful. And so now what's happened is it came to light, and there's a big warning on that page. And so now there's 48,340 reviews. And from my point of view, I don't believe one of them's true now. I don't believe in any of them. It could be that 40,000 of them are true and they are genuine, but I don't believe the whole lot. So that's totally screwed them as far as I'm concerned. And so that's important. Like, you've got to be authentic and be genuine. It's best to have 2 genuine reviews than 10 ungenuine reviews, because it will come and bite you. As my daughter says, she says, oh, that's karma. She was like, that's karma. She says it all the time. So I'm like, oh, so that's karma. So that's what she'd tell you. So here are some review platforms. So Google, obviously, biggest one. You need a Google account to give a review on there. But it's really effective for your online profile because it comes up in the search results. And you need a Google My Business account to be able to receive Google reviews. So it's important that you have that set up. But then you'll show up on maps and people can click on your business and leave a review. So here's an example. So Minuteman Press in Redditch, you can see that he's got 53 reviews, and you can see the stars over here. And it comes up. And so you're bound to click higher up where you've got all the reviews, and you can go through, you can see, you know, he's got really good reviews, and then you're likely to go with them. So that's worth investing your time in, setting that up. But also make sure you respond, because it shows that you're grateful, because people are taking time out of their day to respond to you and give you some kind of feedback. And even sometimes if it's not positive, you can turn that round as more positive, because you can answer the query and try and take it offline if it's getting a bit in depth. You know, can I email you about this, rather than doing it all out in the open. So in terms of doing thank you, you can use keywords. So the Internet Business School, if you use a keyword, so say they were doing the Internet Marketing Diploma, if you said, I'm so glad you enjoyed the Internet Marketing Diploma, if someone's searching for Internet Marketing Diploma, then that would show up. So it's a way to again increase your exposure online. And you can subtly market other products. So if you were writing there, you could say, oh, I hope to see you on another of our courses soon, or don't forget, this is coming up, if you want to learn Facebook marketing, or whatever is appropriate. So yeah, respond to reviews. Now, when you have negative reviews, it's obviously easy and you want to respond quickly because you just want to have your say, don't you? So if you're in an argument and you just want to respond because you feel fiery, but it's really important that you take some time to have a considered response, because the brain has got different elements, and obviously there's the monkey brain and the I can't remember, the monkey and the reptile, and you know, the one that responds straight away, and you're not probably going to have a good outcome if you respond hastily. So sleep on it and then respond appropriately. Look at the problem first. So what is their problem? Is it a genuine problem? Can you resolve anything? And even though sometimes it grates, you need to apologize even if you aren't wrong. And sometimes it is hard, and something I've learned, so my sister has a business, and sometimes when she has difficult clients, she will ask me to respond. Because I used to be a solicitor, I'm really quite good at writing letters and responding to people. And I've learned, like, where you kind of sympathize with people as well. So someone was sympathizing, they'd had some chickens, because my sister sells chicken coops, and they said that some of the chickens had died because they'd got some infection. And she said her children were upset. And so in the response, I spoke to that. I said, oh, I understand, I've got children, and yet they would be upset if my chickens died. But the thing is, you know, chicken coops, for example, they need cleaning out properly. And that's not a fault of the product, that's the fault of the user. But I didn't say it like that, because if you flip it back and say, well, if you didn't clean it out, that's why you got the issues. It's like, you can't do everything. You know, she had the coop 6 months, and then the people are like, the chickens have died, it's all the coop's fault. But you can't respond in that manner, because you're not going to get a healthy response, because people are going to be even more defensive. So you have to, it's about understanding and being compassionate on both sides, and understanding, and it is hard sometimes. So don't be too defensive. And like I say, try and take the conversation offline. So you don't want to be doing this really online, because it can get out of hand sometimes if people are really, really fed up. So Facebook, if you want to collect reviews on Facebook, you can do so if you have a business page. And they've changed it recently, so you can just say, do you recommend Innocent, for example, in this example, yes or no. And then you can write a little bit more, and then you can choose who you share it to. So you could share it just to your friends, or publicly, or I think there's an option to share it to yourself, but it seems no point doing that. But that's what it looks like on Facebook. And as I've been kind of alluding to, it's a great opportunity to show customers good customer service. So it's this woman is disappointed in the coconut water, and she's disappointed she was never going to buy it again. But then they've kind of said, like, we work hard to source ethical and sustainable ingredients. So if I was reading that and I wasn't a consumer of Innocent, I'd be thinking to myself, oh, that's interesting. They do ethical and sustainable ingredients. I'm quite interested in sustainable stuff. I wonder what else they do. So I don't see that as a negative now. And yeah, it just makes me feel that they actually care at Innocent, and that I would go on, and it's kind of highlighted them to me as well. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try this coconut water. I mean, I'm probably with her. Coconut water is probably not the best. I think of other drinks. So Yelp is an online directory for discovering local businesses. You can claim your free business page on Yelp. And this is, I noticed when I was in America, that quite a lot of people, you know, they really use Yelp over there. I don't think it's quite as popular here, but again, it's a place where people do go and look for reviews. So make sure you have your place if you haven't already. And here's some industry-specific examples of third-party review sites. So you need to look at which ones are relevant for your industry. So Facebook and Google are obviously general, and they're important because most people are on there. But if people are really looking out and searching for reviews, then think about your industry and where reviews are being left. So I've got some examples for you. So you probably all heard of TripAdvisor. So this is for service industry, hotels, travel, hospitality, that kind of thing. If you're in the building and trades industry, there's a couple of big ones, mybuilder.com and checkertrade.com. So you can look those up. And if I don't mention your industry, just Google it. Like, Google is the answer to most things. So have a Google of it. In the travel industry, we're looking at Airbnb, booking.com, Expedia, hotels.com, all those ones which are quite familiar. And as you know, you go there, don't you, when you are looking for places to go. If we could be going way more, which obviously we're not doing so much this year, but like with Airbnb, they built community into their business model and relationship building. And part of community building is nurturing relationships. And so certain people feel like they are, they become your brand ambassadors. So in Airbnb, you have super hosts, and super hosts are the ones who are renowned for giving the best service. They get extra branding on their on their profiles on Airbnb. And so if you're looking for an Airbnb and you see a superhost, you're going to trust the superhost more because they are a superhost rather than the person who's just joined up. And so you're looking at the reviews, seeing what these other people say, because otherwise you've got nothing to go on apart from a few pictures. And pictures can be deceiving. This one is for holiday rentals, which is, I think it's Verbo. I don't know what that stands for, and it's not very easy to say, but holiday rentals, you need to get on that one. Trustpilot is a very popular one and a good one, and we have it in the Internet Business School. So if you're in the service industry, you can go on there and get your reviews through there. If you are getting married, you can go on to guidesforbrides.com. So if you are in the wedding industry, then make sure you're on there and getting reviews through that, because that's where brides will be looking for information. And accounting. So accounting industry, you can go on ukaccountingfirms.co.uk, get yourself listed on that, and then people searching in your area may find you through there. Construction.co.uk is for construction industry. And with all of these, you just go in, have a look. For example, on that one, you can see it says submit site along the top. So you submit your site and go from there. So these things are often much easier than you think. And the other thing is about everything I'm talking about is allocate some time. So say next Wednesday between 10 and 12, I'm going to look into reviews, or schedule every Wednesday between 10 and 11. Because if you don't schedule it, you won't do it. So when I don't know, 7 years ago, I wrote a book about how to make money from membership sites. And I started it in November, and then I had a deadline for January the 6th, I remember. And I remember I'd got it done in about 6 weeks. But it's because I had the start and then I had the deadline for the 6th, and I got it done. And since then, I've wanted to do another book, and I haven't scheduled it, and I've not done it. So it's a really good thing to do, schedule time in, because otherwise it doesn't get done. If you are in computer repairs and services and companies, you can go on to computerrepaircompanies.co.uk and put yourself on there. bestwebdesignagencies.co.uk. So you can go on there if you're in web design. And this is for the beauty industry. So, and the good thing about this is Treat Well. I think I know the person who founded this, actually. And I remember being in London in the Underground, and I saw an advert about Treat Well. And so if you went on there, then you'd find somebody, and they're advertising for you as well. So if people go to Treat Well, then they might look up you, and then they might find you because you are on there and have a page. So it's another way to expand your business and get new clients. This has got quite a nice story, whatclinic.com. So the guy was on a rock in Southeast Asia, and he needed a medical procedure, and then he didn't know who to go to. And so from that, he set up this whatclinic.com. And they've got their mission and their vision and their values. And that's the thing. It's like we do want to bring these into our businesses. Like, what is the vision for your business? What do you value as a business? Because now people need to find more points to do business with you, because it's not just about the cheapest price anymore. People want to be connected to something or feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And that's something that's coming forward even more now with the world as it is, and we've all got a lot more isolated, and we do want to connect and feel like we're part of something bigger. So things like that are really important, and you can see that illustrated in this website. carehome.co.uk. So on there, if you've got a care home, get yourself on there and get your reviews on there, so people can really find the best care home that's going to suit the needs of whatever they are. And rover.com/UK is for pet sitting, dog walking and boarding. So there's an example if you're in that industry. So one final way that you can collect reviews, and like I was saying earlier about having as least friction as possible, is you can use this service called videopeel.com. and it's a way to instantly collect videos from your clients. So you can send it to them, they just click record, they don't need to log in, and then you get the review easily back to you. So you can use that in your business, and then you can repurpose it, put it on YouTube, add it onto your social media, add it to your website. So make sure you are repurposing and using any reviews you've got hold of, and not just leaving them on your hard drive. So hopefully that's been useful, and I just wanted to leave you with this quote, which I really like, saying, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And that's so important for us as business owners, that we really think about how people are feeling about us and our business. And it doesn't matter, sometimes things will go wrong, things won't turn up, things will break, and people will forget all that, but they won't forget how you made them feel and how you treated them in the experience that followed. So that's an important thing to remember. So hopefully that has been helpful. I don't know if we've had any questions, but I will see you tomorrow for email marketing. So have a good day.
Fantastic. Thank you, Claire.